Okay, welcome to another episode of Curtain Call Conversations. Now, this is my first returnee to my channel, Isabella Bliss, the wonderful Isabella, who we recently saw in One Night with Marilyn at Crazy Coqs in London, which you can read our review about on the website, and it was 5-star, I'll tell you that. How are you, Isabella?
I'm good, thank you. Slightly tired from going to Cornwall and back overnight, but other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, you're doing well. I mean, the burlesque show that you're out with at the moment, I mean, it's a big tour, isn't it? I mean, you're constantly on the road, I would think.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I live in a van. Um, but yeah, it's a big tour. I mean, but how lucky are we to say that we
Yeah.
have that? I never take it for granted. I know going to we went to Truro in Cornwall yesterday, which was a very long drive.
Yeah.
Um, But what a fantastic audience. We had like 1,200 people in on a
Wow.
Wednesday night, and they were so much fun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah, the travel is at times very tough, but I mean, just I feel every time I get to step on the stage with that show, I'm like, feel really lucky and really
Yeah.
grateful that I get to be a part of it and share my work with people. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, for people that perhaps didn't haven't seen our last interview or know much about you, you do is it a what kind of glass is it that you
Yeah, giant
pour in?
champagne.
A giant
glass.
champagne glass. Yeah. So tell us all about, I mean, how did that sort of start for you? That routine.
I kind of like when I was early on in burlesque and was doing all of my research and looking at all of the legends and the icons and the, burlesque stars of the past. And I became really fascinated with the kind of the big prop acts.
Mm.
And I think because I kind of grew up watching a lot of musical theatre movies, and I love these big, like, when they used to do like the Hollywood dream sequences where they
Mm.
have these big, beautiful costumes and big props and everything was a big thing. And I really liked that. Um, and so coming into burlesque, that was kind of like, I was like, I just want to recreate these kind of big dream sequences. And how can I do that with props that are in my genre?
Mm.
Um, and there's been many burlesque props over the years. And obviously the, giant champagne martini glass was quite a big one that had actually been around a long time. I mean, I
Mm.
found research going back as early as like 1920s burlesque
Oh,
performers
wow.
performing in
Okay.
champagne glasses.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously it was made popular again by Dita in the 90s. And it was kind of like I just loved the opulence of it and the glamour of it and the magic and the kind of the silliness of it of like you're a girl in a glass of pain, and why not, if
Yeah.
you're gonna do something that's the height of glamour and opulence and theatrics, then why not, do it big. And
Yeah.
um so I sort of my dad we used to make props for magicians and illusionists, and I sat
Mm.
there one Boxing Day with my dad and I said, oh, showed him some pictures, and I went, do you think you can make one of these? And he went, what on earth is that and what do you want it for?
Ah.
um, and so we set about kind of designing my first one together,
Yeah.
over 10 years ago now. I think
Wow.
I sort of almost forget because there's so many of them now, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I have been doing it a really long time, and I've got two now, so I'm on my
Oh,
second one
okay.
on the show. Um, but to me, because I fell in love with the old school Hollywood glamour, with the Marilyn Monroe and the old school Hollywood musical movies and these big theatrical production pieces, for me, it made sense of like, if I can do it and create it, I want to create a production piece and some magic and some glamour. And
Yeah.
Genie Glass was kind of the thing that I chose early on that I wanted to do. I've got a new prop in the show now, actually, that's been in a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the martini glass, champagne coupe, champagne cup,
Yeah.
whatever, it goes through various names, but I love the magic of it, and
Mm.
it's the kind of, I think when people think of burlesque, and obviously huge credit to, Dita Von Teese and Catherine
Mm.
Delish for making the champagne and the martini glass act such a popular revival in the 90s. If it wasn't for them, we maybe wouldn't know about it as
Yeah.
much and it wouldn't be as popular. Um, it is a really hugely sought after act. But I like to think with an evening of burlesque, I try and present it in the way that it deserves, you know, with that magical lighting and the perfect soundtrack and all of the effects that I use kind of behind the scenes on the show, that maybe people don't know that I do all of that. You know, I
Mm.
design those pieces. It's not just about, oh, I've bought a giant champagne glass and I'm going to, you know, dance around in it.
Yeah,
When I
yeah.
treat it for an evening of burlesque, I work really hard behind the scenes with the sound and light team. And we sit, and I sometimes sit up in the lighting desk and program it with the lighting
Oh,
technicians.
wow.
I'm like, at this point, I need this bit of lighting, and at this point, can we do this? And I want to have this effect. And I go, how do we make that happen? And then I go away and do some research, and then I'll buy another bit of kit, and I go, I've bought the bit of kit, and we can have this effect now. And
Yeah.
so it's not about just putting a glass on the stage and putting on a pretty
Mm.
costume. I really, on an evening of burlesque, really craft it into giving it a piece that I think it deserves, and making it a feeling and an emotion with all of these, you know, layers of effects and
Mm.
light and great sound and presentation. And the Sheila Showgirls dance with me at the start of the number as well, to,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
beautiful like tuxedos and top hats. And
Yeah.
I worked with them to choreograph a part at the start of the routine as well, to, you know, elevate it and make it that
Mm.
magic that hopefully when people come and see that act on an evening of burlesque, it gives that kind of old school Hollywood glamour magic that I think that that prop truly deserves, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's, as we, spoke about before, burlesque is such a beautiful art form, and
Mm.
it's clearly, well received because, as you say, you're selling out sort of massive venues all over the country. So, people need, want it, don't they? They want to see that sort of opulence and that sexy on the stage, that I think that you bring.
And the fun as well, you know,
Yeah.
burlesque always has a huge resurgence in times of, you know, great depression and great sadness. Something that
Mm,
we crave so much as humans is, you know, we want that escapism. You know, we're in a financial crisis.
mm,
People's lives are hard.
yeah.
And a great way to have a moment of escapism is come to a burlesque show and have that laughter and that comedy and that glamour and the pretties and the sparkles, and just for that moment be taken away from all of that stress and worry and just be welcomed into our world of
Yeah.
create for people, so they can have that break from, you know, the day-to-day worries that we're all experiencing at the moment. And I
Yeah.
think that's why the show is still hugely successful, because we need that joy and we
Yeah.
need that laughter now
Yeah.
more than ever, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, alongside sort of an evening of burlesque, we have your One Night with Marilyn show, which, as I mentioned at the top there, we came to see over the bank holiday weekend. And my reviewer in particular loved it. I mean, he really loved it. So talk me through sort of the creation of that show.
So One Night with Marilyn, I initially started writing back in 2017. So quite a long
Yeah.
time ago, really, that I've been working on it and performing on it. I started doing Marilyn by accident as a bit of a joke for a friend's birthday. Uh, and kind of because I never used to sing or talk as an actor, I would be a burlesquer.
Mhm.
Um, and I was terrified of singing, and I never imagined that I could possibly do something like that. And I kind of did it as a joke for a friend's birthday, and sort of accidentally happened upon the joy that I felt doing it, of like, I can do this, and this makes people laugh,
Yeah.
and look at the joy on people's faces when I do this. And oh, I want to do more of that. And also, I grew up watching Marilyn movies. I love her. I genuinely
Mm,
really adore and care about her. And so when I sort of accidentally happened to discover I could do it, I was like, well, how do I do more of this?
mm,
And then I went away and did a lot of research, and I watched so many Marilyn shows, you know, theatre productions, whether they were in a little cabaret room above a pub, you know, to theatre productions. I
mm.
went to so many Marilyn shows that I could try and see and research.
Yeah.
And what made me really sad was the way that she was often portrayed was
Mm,
in the negative light. And I was like, but she did such great things. She was an incredible woman. And
yeah.
amazing things in her time. And why do we not celebrate that? Why do we not champion that? Why do people choose to so deeply lean into negative aspects of her life? And I felt like she was being done such an injustice.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, well, if the show doesn't exist, I'll write it. And so I wrote One Night with Marilyn, and it was
Yeah.
really to celebrate her life and tell her story.
Mm.
And for it to be a really interactive, immersive show, as if you was experiencing her, because she was incredibly intelligent, incredibly witty, incredibly funny, um both on stage and actually off stage. When you listen to some of her
Yeah.
interviews, she's very smart.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that to people and educate them about some of the wonderful things she did. To be one of the early women in Hollywood in the 50s to set up their own production company
Yeah.
is something that perhaps now, we take for granted. Women are making such headway in the world of movies in terms
Yeah.
of creating movies, directing movies, having their own production companies. But in the 50s, it was still so out of the box for a woman to set up and do that.
Oh,
And
yeah, it would have been massive. Yeah.
it's kind of like we need to champion those things, and her
Mm.
relationship with Ella Fitzgerald and how she stood up for her against racism. It was like, also, why are we not celebrating that? And
Mm.
she did great things in when she could help other people. On her honeymoon, when she married Joe DiMaggio, she flew out to Korea and performed for the troops. It's freezing cold in this tiny little spaghetti strap dress.
Yeah.
She wanted to give back to people. She wanted to do anything she could to help and make people's lives a little bit better.
Yeah.
And we hadn't seemed to have celebrated that. So I kind of, started writing in 2017 and did the first one during a really difficult part of my life. Actually, I at one point didn't think I was going to do the show. I remember being in
Oh.
my room in my dressing gown with my cup of coffee, like crying to my coffee. I had
Oh.
all of my Marilyn pictures pinned up, and I had all
Yeah.
of my script, and I was like, I'd experienced so much loss myself in terms of
Oh.
personal things, and I
Mm.
was like, how am I going to do this? But I just didn't want to let her down. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I have to tell this story. And
Mm.
it's been a long journey to get from those humble beginnings of doing the show and writing the show and producing it and selling it. I mean,
Mm.
that's also something. I don't just perform the show, I do everything of
Mm.
write it, produce it, sell the tickets,
Yeah.
hustle the venues to get the shows. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's it's been what was so amazing on Sunday was to see how far I'd come with that process.
Yeah.
Um, and to have the show so well received, I was like, it's taken so long to get where I am now with it.
Yeah.
Um, and to have it so well received was just
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
So,
well, it is. It's a joy because you work so hard on it over that period of time, and for people to love it and to enjoy it and come out with a big smile on the face. I mean, your job is done, isn't it? I mean, it's so amazing and well done for that. I mean, you mentioned there that you make it sort of an interactive, immersive kind of show, and obviously, when my reviewer saw the show on Sunday, you get people up out of the audience on stage with you. I mean, how is that received? I'm sure people love it, but.
I think they don't expect it, because I think traditionally when you would say, "Oh, I'm going to go see a tribute show," it might be a tribute performer on stage dressed as that person, and they'll sing the songs as that person, but they won't talk
Yeah.
or act as that person. Some do, some don't. But what I found was it was quite often um sort of two-dimensional, and with
Mm.
her character and her, I wanted people to experience her. So because I come from cabaret and burlesque, I was like, how do I marry these two and um, make it so you feel like you're having an evening with her?
Yeah.
And I think that it's then a little golden nugget of you would never expect to come to a Marilyn tribute show and for it to be so interactive and me getting people up on stage.
Yeah.
Um, but that for me is the magic, because it helps the audience experience her on a deeper level.
Yeah.
all of what I do, I try to do is within context of Marilyn when I'm getting
Yeah,
people up. It's all relevant
yeah,
to the story and the narrative that I'm telling.
yeah,
But I hope that those bits of interaction and where I get people up, it just builds that bond even more between Marilyn and the audience.
yeah,
And just again, like fun. I
yeah.
really wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be a joyous celebration of her life and fun, and people to come away from it feeling like they'd learned something about Marilyn, which was my main. I wanted people to learn something about her and maybe go, oh, I'll go and watch some more of her movies and I'll learn a little bit more about her.
Mm, yeah.
But also for people to come away feeling good because they've had a laugh and enjoyed themselves. So.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you also add in a performer that does a Frank Sinatra tribute. So what's it like working alongside another tribute?
It's really, really fun actually, and I think it was a great David Alacy that plays played Frank Sinatra for me on Sunday. He's a great Frank Sinatra. He's been doing it forever. Wonderful, wonderful. And I've
Yeah.
worked with him a few times. He has a Rat Pack tribute show, so
Okay.
sometimes I go and guest on his show.
Oh, nice.
Um, and it kind of always made sense to me because I guess maybe people didn't know is there was a great friendship between Frank and Marilyn.
Mm.
Two people that had a lot of admiration and respect for each other. And there was always hints of was there or was there not a relationship or a love affair.
Yeah, yeah.
He bought her a poodle, he bought her a fur coat. There was rumors of potentially he'd proposed to her, but they did have
Okay.
a great connection.
Yeah.
And so to have David on as a guest kind of made sense, I think, to give the audience a change up and
Yeah.
also to give the show a bit of a dynamic where I could then sing a duet with somebody and, have that different dynamic on the show and go into a little bit of that part of the story
Yeah.
as well, to tell that because it's just so funny because, he did genuinely buy her this poodle that she nicknamed Math. And the poodle apparently slept on the fur coat,
Oh,
which is
wow.
rude. So again, it was like being able to install another little nugget of information and a little bit of fun and a little bit of humor about another part of her life that perhaps people didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting, as you say, I mean, people probably have a preconceived idea about her, the fact that she was a very beautiful blonde, there's always that stereotype, isn't there? And back then, I would imagine it was probably even more so back in the 50s, when she was, at the height of her fame. So to be able to tell her story, it is really important, and you clearly do it exceptionally well.
Thank you. I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah. Have you got some more shows coming up for Marilyn?
Well, that was what was interesting. When I'd booked this show, we had a theatre tour planned for this year. So initially,
Okay.
I had a 20-date theatre tour. So I was kind of gearing up, came back after Christmas, really excited. I had a band lined up, and I was like,
Mm.
okay, like finally the thing's happening and all this
Eh,
kind of work. And then unfortunately, like a week in, 2 weeks into the year, the producer changed their mind.
Oh
Um,
no.
and so I was like, oh, wow. But it will still happen,
Yeah, yeah,
a blessing in disguise. And, there's still a lot of interest in the show, and there's
yeah.
still people that believe in it. And I think it's really important to kind of touch on this and talk about the process that sometimes you go through as an artist. People only see the surface
Mm.
of the success
Yeah,
online,
yeah.
but they don't necessarily understand the process behind it and how long sometimes it takes you to get somewhere and how many no's you will have. And, you
Mm.
know, for years, people have said to me, this won't work. And, she didn't sing enough songs, or why would people go and see her? And
Yeah,
had so many no's along the way. And then to pretty much sell out the Crazy Cocks on a bank holiday Sunday of people that just wanted to come out and celebrate her life is
yeah,
proof enough that people do want that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, unfortunately, that had changed. But I
Oh,
think I'm not giving up at all. Like I
no.
100% believe this will become a theatre show, and
Yeah,
um, it needs to sit in a theatre, I think, so we can kind of build on more of the storytelling of her life and
Yeah.
have more elements to it and stuff. So we'll get there. It's just
Yeah.
maybe it's
Yeah.
going to take a little bit longer, but you have to have patience for these things, and
Yeah,
I'm a great
sure.
believer that everything happens for a reason, and there's a right
Me too,
for
yeah.
everything. Perhaps that just wasn't the right situation, and I hope that, I have every faith that we can continue to tell our story, and hopefully maybe we'll have a chat in a year's time and I'll be celebrating doing a full theatre tour doing it,
Yeah, absolutely. That would be absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's been so nice to have a little catch up with you, Isabella. And I wish you all the best with the burlesque show. I will put on the next slide where people can grab their tickets and see you. But hopefully you're having a day of rest today. Back on it tomorrow, I believe.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a new act in the show at the moment, so
Oh,
it's
fab.
busy, busy, busy with that, which
Yeah.
is
Fantastic. So it's been lovely and wishing you all the best. And as I say, let's have another catch up when we're a bit further along and we'll see where Marilyn is at that point.
thank you so
All
much.
right, you're more than welcome. Take care.
Bye.